Hey everyone. So today we're going to break down a topic that causes a ton of stress for service businesses, your Google Ads budget. We're going to cut right through all the confusion and show you how to build a budget that's not just some number you feel good about, but a real, predictable plan for growth. Okay, let's jump right in.
So let's just be honest for a second. How did you come up with your current ad budget? If you're like most business owners, you probably just kind of picked a number that felt safe or, sounded reasonable. It's the most common way to do it, but it's also why so many campaigns fail before they even get a chance to get going.
And this is exactly what happens. One month you get a few leads, things are looking good, and the next, it's crickets, right? That wild inconsistency isn't because Google Ads is some kind of gamble, it's because the budget was a total shot in the dark. You're basically flying blind, and today we're going to give you a clear map to follow.
To get that kind of clarity, you have to understand the simple math that really drives the entire system. And you know what? It all boils down to just 3 core factors. Once you get these, budgeting stops being a guessing game and it becomes a real strategic decision. All right, first up is cost per click, or CPC. This is simply what you pay Google every single time someone clicks on your ad. Now, what's really important to understand here is just how much this can vary. If you're in a super competitive industry, like say HVAC or plumbing, you're going to pay a lot more for a click than a lawn care business would, just because there are so many more companies bidding for those same eyeballs. Okay, next is your conversion rate. This is where your website's performance really gets put to the test. So, of all the people who click your ad, what percentage of them actually pick up the phone or fill out a form? Now, a dedicated, really well-built landing page might convert, say, 15 to 25% of those visitors. But if you're just sending all that traffic to your generic homepage, you might only see a 2 to 6% conversion rate. And that gap, that's where so much money gets wasted.
And finally, we have the close rate. Look, you can generate all the leads in the world, but what happens after they contact you? If your team can't turn those leads into paying customers, the whole system just falls apart. This number right here connects your marketing spend directly to your bottom line. It is the final, and I mean crucial, piece of the puzzle.
So, now that we get the 3 core factors, we can put them all together into a really simple formula. This is how you go from just guessing a number to actually building a strategic growth plan for your business.
It's a really simple 3-step process. First, you just set your goal for how many new customers you want this month. That's your anchor. Second, you use your close rate to work backward and figure out, okay, how many leads do I actually need to hit that goal? And third, you multiply that number by your average cost per lead, which, and this is key, is determined by your cost per click and your website's conversion rate. Let me show you how it works. Let's use a real example from our source material. Let's say your goal is 8 new customers a month. And if your team has a 50% close rate, meaning you close half your leads, you know you'll need 16 leads to hit that goal. Makes sense, right? So if your average lead costs you $70, you just multiply 16 leads by $70. And there it is. Your minimum budget to hit your goal is $1,120. No guesswork, just simple math.
Now, this brings us to the single biggest and, frankly, most costly mistake that service businesses make when they start out with Google Ads. And it's not what you think. It's not overspending. It's the exact opposite.
It's starting way, way too small. See, when your budget is underfunded, you literally starve the Google algorithm of the data it needs to learn and get smarter. The system needs a steady flow of clicks and conversions to figure out who your ideal customer is. And without enough of that data, your campaign just gets stuck in this permanent learning phase, and you never, ever see consistent results.
I absolutely love this quote because it hits the nail on the head. Spending 10 or 20 bucks a day might feel like you're doing something, but it's not a real strategy. It's a slow leak. You just don't have enough budget to build any real momentum. So the money just kind of trickles away without ever generating a reliable flow of leads. So if a tiny budget doesn't work, does that mean you just have to spend a ton of money? No, not at all. The goal is to spend smarter, not just harder. It's really about being a good steward of your resources before you even think about scaling up.
And this slide just perfectly shows the 2 different mindsets. Over on the left, you've got the leaky bucket approach, just pouring more and more money in and hoping for the best. And on the right, you have the stewardship approach. You fix the leaks first. That means optimizing your landing page, tracking your numbers, and making sure your team has a solid follow-up system before you even think about increasing your ad spend.
So, what is a realistic budget? Well, this chart gives some fantastic benchmarks based on how competitive your industry is. If you're in a low competition field like lawn care or cleaning, you might see results with $500 to $1,500 a month. But for high competition, high urgency services like plumbing or HVAC, you've got to be prepared to invest $3,000 or more just to get consistent, high quality leads. This is a bit of a reality check for your specific market.
But what if you just don't have that kind of budget right now? That's okay. It doesn't mean you can't succeed. It just means you have to be more surgical. Instead of a broad approach, you focus that smaller budget on your most profitable services in a very, very specific area. You also double down on the free stuff, like perfecting your Google business profile and getting your website's conversion rate up. A small budget can absolutely work, but it has to be laser-focused.
Okay, let's bring all this together. We've gone from the uncertainty of just guessing a budget to the clarity of having a predictable plan. The whole point of all of this is to put you back in control of your marketing and ultimately your growth.
And that is the real takeaway today. When you understand the math, your cost per click, your conversion rate, and your close rate, your Google Ads budget stops feeling like a risk. It becomes an investment. In fact, it transforms into one of the most stable and predictable growth systems your business can possibly have. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about for your own business. After everything we've talked about, take a really hard look at how you're approaching your marketing spend. Is your budget a gamble based on a gut feeling, or is it a strategic growth plan built on clarity? The choice and the control is all yours.